Our next guest is a broadcasting great who, well, we think he's a soft velvet voice, but he's not so sure that he actually has. His radio stardom started, well, it sort of in the 60s, wasn't it? And then
started in the 60s with a pirate station, Radio Caroline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How could you actually broadcast from a boat without being sick?
You got sick on the way to the boat.
Right.
But once you're on the ship, it used to rock and roll a bit, but you got used to it.
Look at it. Look at it. It's like a right wreck, isn't it?
But so many of you started there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Tony Everett and Tony
That
Blackburn.
was Radio Caroline North, which was off the Isle of Man, which was a huge ex-ferry. I was on the Caroline South off Frinton, which is a retirement place. And people used to come down in their cars and shine their headlights out to the ship, which rather annoyed the good folk of Frinton.
Could I just ask, why basically, before we get on to the 70s and everything you do now, why was there a need for pirate radio?
Because the BBC wouldn't play pop music. Apart from the weekend, the chart show, and maybe Saturday morning, Sunday morning, that was it. So Monday to Friday, you never heard all this great music. And you've got the Beatles, the Stones, the Kinks, the Who, all of that, all those great bands. And people couldn't hear it on the radio.
But then eventually they had to change, hadn't they?
Well, they had to change in '67 because the pirates were so popular. But it was an Irish fella called Ronan O'Reilly came up with the idea, well, let's put a radio station on the ship more than 3 miles out in international waters. So the British government couldn't do anything about it. We went out there for 2 weeks at a time and played all these records that people...
So
there was a film made of that, wasn't there?
The Boat That Rocked,
That
they
must
made
be
it look
exciting times for you all.
Yeah,
You were like
it was.
rebels, weren't you?
We were like what?
You were rebels.
Oh, yeah, a bit of, rebellious pirates.
So when did you become all conventional then?
Well, then, 1969, Caroline went off 68, 69. Somebody suggested I should go to the BBC, and they said, well, we'll go... It was Clive Selwood, John Peel's manager, and he said...
Look at you. Gosh.
And that was Radio 1, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Radio 1, yeah. And they invited me to lunch on a restaurant, on a canal boat. And the boss then was Mark White, who's very sort of RAF type, a squadron leader type. He said, Johnny, welcome aboard. We thought you'd feel at home here with all the portholes and stuff. So I thought these BBC chaps are not as bad as I thought.
Well, look, there's going to be a lot of people who will feel at home when they know your show and the sounds of the 70s and whatever, and you're out on the road. You've already had a show.
We did a show Friday last in Weston-super-Mare.
So what's the format? Because people might think it's just a big disco on the road.
No, well, it's much more than that because we've got a brilliant band with really great players, 3 really good vocalists.
It's a good sing-along by the looks of it,
Yeah,
Johnny.
and we ended with, they did Sweet Caroline, the Neil Diamond song. So I thought I'd shoot a little video from the stage. So they're having a good time.
Were you nervous about taking it on the road? Because
No.
there's one thing on the radio and you can imagine people at home singing in their kitchens and things, but to see them all there...
When you're standing in the wings, 1 minute to go, you get a little bit tense.
Yeah.
But once you walk out on stage... so the band plays all the hits of the 70s really well, and then I just tell a few stories about my time on the radio and interviewing people and things
And you've got a lot of stories and you've met a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it must have been a very glamorous kind of jet-set lifestyle at one point. You were flying all over the world.
It wasn't quite like that.
Wow.
There was a good moment, though, when a plugger rugged me up, promotion guy for a record company, Bill Fowler, his name was. Johnny, he goes, do you fancy seeing Woodstock the movie, the premiere? So I said, yeah, Bill, that sounds good. Yeah, I'm up for that, thinking Leicester Square. He said, be at Hendon Aerodrome tomorrow afternoon at 2:30. So I get myself to Hendon Aerodrome. There's a 12-seater little plane there with a few other people on. We fly down to Cannes because the premiere of Woodstock the movie is in Cannes. Oh. And on the way, I realised it was a Monaco Grand Prix the next day. Oh. So I persuaded the pilot and the record company guy. I said, couldn't just take us down to Monaco on Sunday. So we got to see the Grand Prix as well. So that was pretty clever.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Johnny, you're on the road. The tour goes on for how long?
Well, it kind of goes on. With me being in my advanced age now, I have to take it gently. So I do a couple and then have a rest.
Okay.
So it's 25 dates. You can do a search of Johnny's tour, you'll find all the dates. And I'm out on the road until October.
Good lad. Well, every success to you. It's our era. It is Johnnie Walker's Sounds of the 70s. He's on the road. Google it and you'll know the availability. Lovely meeting you, my friend.
Very nice to be here. Thank you.
Indeed.